Hello, and welcome everyone. Oh wow. That's why I was supposed to be checking all of this beforehand. See? That's that's why we're supposed to be checking this. Um let's go ahead and drop that out. Bring this up some. There we go. Alright, yeah. How is everybody doing this morning? I am doing excellent. I just wanted to get things crack-a-lagging this week. We're gonna continue Friday's conversation. Of course, like I said before, I don't know if we're gonna have that same vibe, but yeah, like I said, we're gonna get that going. I don't know. I forgot exactly what I was just about to say, but I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to make sure everything's working smooth this morning. You know how things can tend to be. But yeah, let's I think this is a little too high, just a smidge. Let's bring the whole thing down some. Yeah, there we go. That seems a lot better, I guess. There we go. All right. Now, like I was saying, but yeah, we're gonna continue last week's conversation about what are your values and are you living up to them? I was talking about the things that people value as far as it goes, and when we were speaking on that, it was quite interesting on how I took it at the moment because it speaks on another point that I really want to point out. Excuse me. With that and the conversation I had this morning, because I was speaking on things that people value and the things that we should actually value as far as the definition of, like value in this sense, or the particular way that I'm talking about it should go, like I said, not actually materialistic value, but the priceless things that you can't put a real value on, like life, family, things like that. But society tries to make you put a price on it. Do you really want your grandma to live that much longer to do this, pay all this money to get her on this list to get a new kidney or whatever it is, whenever the moment comes where they make you make a choice about whether you have the money to keep a loved one or not. Anyway, but that's another point for another time. But like I said, that's just a example of in which people try to put a value on life. But like I was saying, to the point of speaking on the meanings of value and actual value of things, like what was the word I used, materialistic value, and priceless things like life. I said those are two different meanings, and that's kind of a way that I could say that the English language is quite confusing or broken in a way. And I was speaking to some of my family this morning. I was talking about how people, I wouldn't say value their time, but necessarily how people measure their own personal time versus how time is actually measured. Like the things we have put in place to measure time in the sense of how to, so you can see how much time has gone by. What was that? Oh, I know what that was. Nothing important to what's going on right now. But yeah, so how you measure time. In the conversation, my brother was saying that no matter when your 24-hour clock is going on, it doesn't matter because Monday still starts at 12 a.m. On that Sunday night, after Sunday 11:59 at 12 a.m. it's Monday morning, regardless of your eternal clock. And I was saying, like, yeah, literally speaking, like, yes, it is Monday, but, when you're speaking to somebody and they're, talking only from their perspective, and they say, like, or, you use it, you asked them or you told them the day before that, hey, call me tomorrow. So, within their eternal clock, they haven't gone to sleep yet. So the next day hasn't came for them, even though, like you said, literally speaking, the next day has arrived. As far as the English language goes and the way that we communicate with each other, that would be where it is broken. And it's crazy how, like I said, this situation with like talking about like things that people value, and this is where some of those things, like I said, it gets lost in translation of what people are actually trying to say, or like, or at certain moments we can see how things get confusing or things can be misinterpreted, and it's very, very frustrating when you start to realize that, or you see situations and it takes you maybe a day or two to actually process maybe what that person might have been trying to get across, and you may not actually fully understand what it is that the person was trying to get across at that very moment, because like I said, there are so many different meanings for everyday words that we use, or even just even bigger words. Like I said, I try to use, other words to describe what I'm meaning. And even then, I tend to use the same word to describe multiple things, even when I'm speaking. And I try my best not to do that, just so it doesn't get confusing or, misinterpreted. And a lot of things I say kind of go missed, and it's not anybody's fault or anything like that. It's just, like I said, the English language is quite confusing. But I want to talk a lot more back on this situation that I was talking about, the conversation this morning about, like I said, when somebody's eternal clock starts, and like I said, whenever the actual measurement of like time, as far as like the calendar months, the 24-hour scale is in which a full day is, and so on. So like I said, one of my examples was that somebody, for instance, say we have two people who work at the same job, work opposite schedules, and this particular job works 12-hour shifts. Now, that person, both of those people may work in the same day, but now that person who works in the morning, so it's funny. Okay, my mind started moving a little bit faster than I could actually explain this. So yes, before I start confusing things, yes, so the person who works the 12 a.m. to 12 noon shift, a lot of times when we think about it, they're the second shift, and the person who works 12 noon to 12 p.m. is the first shift, in a sense, because they're going to work in the middle of the day. The people who are going to work at 12 a.m., what would look like the middle of the night, technically is the earliest point in the day. But a lot of times when whenever they look at the schedules or whatever, but actually to come to the like scheduling thing, a lot of places do not schedule actually like dead at 12 a.m. There are places that do, and places that do normally don't do 12-hour shifts. But like I said, to this example, like I said, it makes perfect sense to explain it this way. But yeah, like I said, a lot of times in that situation, like I said, we would think of the people who go to work at 12 a.m. as the second shift or the night shift. And that is one of the main things that makes it a confusing situation, or a what was I saying before the actual word I was using? It basically where our communication is broken, or the English language is broken, or that is basically the point where the communication can be broken, as far as the interpretation of everything. So, like I said, the people who work at that time, the job states it as the night shift. They say it's the night shift because the sun is not up yet, but technically, if you look at it from a calendar standpoint, or like a weekly standpoint, they are the first shift, the actual morning shift, because they work the whole morning from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon. So they are the morning shift, but everybody's going to think of that as the night shift because they go to work when it's dark outside. And like I said, that is one of the main things that gets really confusing when we're talking about like general stuff. So, like I said, to continue on with this, after that being said, like I said, those people who feel like they work the night shift would then, go to sleep during the general, what we would call the daytime, because that is the primary time when the sun is up, and they would sleep during the daytime, even though they're really going to sleep generally around the evening so they can wake up for the morning time. But by the way that we have actually structured a lot of businesses, just how everybody's eternal clock should work, and the structure that is put in place in society, that, things work on Monday to Friday, from generally from 6 a.m. to about 8 p.m. And that's like the general open to close time for, most major businesses that at least service the community. Anything else like that, special service buildings like, like fire stations and, convenience stores like that, stay open 24 hours. But, like I said, those are all conveniency things, or not or emergency things. I mean, it's convenient in which the emergency happens. So that's why I put it all under conveniency. But yeah, like I said, break, that is the break in communication. Like I said, that's where communication gets broken. And it's actually crazy that we have such a miscommunication in just everyday life. And I notice it a lot whenever I can say something, and it's not all the time that people don't hear exactly what I'm saying, as much as they don't comprehend the full thing that I'm saying. They might get the general idea of what I said, and they'll be like, oh yeah, da 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 da, and keep going. But I personally feel like that's in fear that they know that I'm going to stop them and tell them, wait, no. Did you get exactly what I said? And I'm going to break it down, and they don't want me to, stop and explain this whole thing, because then we'll be sitting there for a cool minute. And I understand that, and I'm not hurt by that. But anyway, but yeah, to the point of that is, like I said, people will take whatever you said, and just like if they only get like 50% of it, they'll just like run with 50% of it, whether they understood the full statement or even heard the full statement. And a lot of times that's when communication gets broken, because like I said, you could have said, like that other 50% of the information that they didn't get could be crucial to the particular situation. And like it could easily be just like directions, or like just planning out a day. And you can think about particular situations where you have multiple people in that situation, and the communication on even just getting there on time, or like people taking separate cars and who's gonna go where at what time, like gets a little misconstrued. Like I said, like it's just like playing that game back when you were a kid, telephone, where you tell one person something, and then they tell the next person, they tell the next person, who tells the next person, and then it goes around in a circle until it gets back to you, and it's nothing like the original statement that you said. Or it could be like it might generally have the same topic, but ultimately be something totally different, because like I said, everybody's perception in the way that things are said or portrayed by different people is it's different. Like I said, not everybody sees the same thing, but it's crazy how, like I said, this type of miscommunication can play such a huge part in the understanding, and even just like us, to the point that we're actually here talking about like people's values. Like if somebody doesn't truthfully understand a situation for what it truthfully is, they can't grasp the true value behind it. Like it's almost like whenever somebody goes to a pawn shop or something, and the pawn person behind the counter has something of extremely high value, and the person who comes into the store recognizes the thing of high value and buys it from the pawn person without, and that person didn't do their research or whatever. Granted, a lot of times nowadays these people do their research and they know what they have, but in the rare case that they don't know what they have, or even just don't know how to properly utilize it to receive the value for it, and so on and so forth. Like I said, they somebody buys it for $10 and they make $10,000 from it. That's ultimately like what is the word I'm looking for? Well, anyway, that would be upsetting to the pawn person, but oh yeah, like I said, that was, people don't see the value in things. Like I said, that's the point that I was making. I don't know how I got off of that for like that split second, but yeah, excuse me, but yeah, but it is quite interesting and quite crazy how people don't see the value in things, or they won't, because they don't understand the situation, or the communication is broken, or just like I said, the fact that people only grasp half of the information from somebody, and it makes them not have that same level of care for something. So like I was explaining with my example, people don't see the full value in things because they don't fully understand what it is that is before them, or even how they're supposed to care, or they might not be in a place where they can fully, actually care about this thing or this particular situation. And that is something that we also have to take in account of whenever you're talking about values, because if somebody doesn't fully value, if their values, or like where their morals lie, or things like that is not at a positive place, like you can't expect better, I guess, from that person. You ultimately have to help them restore their sense of values, because at that point, like I said, they don't value anything, and you don't want somebody around you not to value anything, because then it goes to make you think like, well, if you don't value yourself at a higher level, or like the priceless things, like I said, if you don't value yourself as priceless, in the sense of like there's no amount of money that can purchase you per se, then how much do you value me? And you can't value yourself. I don't know. It's that. See, this is where, like I said, I can't even put together the actual words to fully explain this in a way, because of the fact that there's such a level of miscommunication within the own straightforward communication that we have. I said, even when I'm talking or just talking continuously, things can start to get confusing, and in any situation it can be misunderstood or not even easily followed when someone is just speaking about things continuously, like I'm doing in my forum today. And like I said, it with that level of confusion and misinformation, or however, see, even now it's getting confusing and flustering, like I said, within my own self on speaking on it, because like I said, there's so much information at this point that it makes like, okay, well, what did I take in here? And what did I take in here? And you try to put them all together and you're like, well, wow. Like, then you come up with your own conclusion. And like I said, not everybody's going to come to the same conclusion on everything. And it's going to get confusing. Like I said, I haven't even continued on with the week thing. Actually, we did go on that for a good minute, and I'm not going to, we can go back to that for a cool second. But yeah, like I said, it'd take a second to breathe, because I've been talking for a cool minute. But yes, ultimately at this point, we've talked about the fact that, like I said, and just in the English language, just the way that different things that are said, or just any straightforward sentence can be perceived, is one confusing thing we can say, because even any statement can be looked at or heard in numerous ways. So in every situation, you have to take a second to actually think about what it is that's being said, or who is saying it, because their situation or where they're coming from plays a very huge part in what it is that they're asking or telling you, or where their values may lie with whatever situation that they're talking about or going through. So take those things into consideration before you pass judgment, or I guess before you actually devalue something. That's what I'm gonna just put it at that. But to the point, like I said, about valuing your values, and are you living up to them? Like I said, we kind of went on a little side tangent about how you can understand that somebody else's self-value level, or even just value in a sense for mankind, is at a morally low point. And that's, I'm not gonna say it's okay, but as the people with a like a higher sense of value, we have to uplift these people and bring them up, because like I said, if we all have that greater sense of value, we can feel better as people to progress in a positive way. But like I said, to living up to your values and things like that. Like I said, what do you value? We talked about a lot of things that you can value, like I said, like life, family, like I said, you can value yourself as well. Like I said, self-value is a very important thing. And when it comes to the actual point of the question, what are your values? That's really more so asking, where does your morals lie? Like, what is your moral standpoint? And I actually had a very good conversation about kind of technically morals in a sense yesterday, and it went to the conversation of like wearing a fur coat. And my brother was trying to tell me, he was saying like, I don't have to support, like killing the animals if by wearing the fur coat. And I was saying, well, I mean, kind of in a way, you're basically saying that, because if you wear the fur coat, like, you have to be at least like just with the way that they got the fur coat. Like, so he asked me a question. He said, well, like, okay, so you have a leather bag. He's like, so you're like basically just fuck the cows? I was like, I mean, technically, yeah, in a sense. I was like, I love steak. I was like, now, do I condone killing, and do I like killing? No. I don't like killing people or really killing animals. I mean, I do eat meat. I've grown up eating meat before I had the realization that I was eating something that they had to kill. It was just something that was blind to me. I never stopped eating meat at that point by realizing that. So yeah, like, I mean, I had to come with the realization, like, yeah, like, we have to kill cows for this. And I do know that they, hold cows in captivity and all that type of stuff. That's why we do have some open range companies and stuff like that are trying to do better as far as like the food we eat. Hey, Marco, and stuff like that though. And like, as far as like they would come back to values and the moral standpoint of particular companies and stuff like that, and where they try to show their values and try to live up to what they say that they value as far as it goes. And from a business standpoint, that's something that's very important to people, and the integrity of the company and stuff like that. But before I kind of lose my point or just start going on a tangent, yeah, like I said, we was talking about, like I said, so to my morals and things like that, like I said, I don't condone just killing and stuff like that, but I will say that I am, yeah, like, for the killing of cows, because I do thoroughly love my beef. I do thoroughly love chicken. I do thoroughly love, all types of meat that I eat, and stuff like that, like pork and stuff and so on. But yeah, so like I said, we have to understand like where it goes, and like the point that he was making is, I don't have to be somebody who can, stands with those people. I said, no, you technically don't have to be one of those people who are standing with them, but you do have to understand by, wearing that, or, at least, like I said, by eating beef, wearing a leather bag, all those things, I do stand with the people who, kill the cows and stuff like that. Like, that's where you're making your standpoint. Like, at that point in time, it's either black or white. Like, you either do it and you take part, or you don't, and you don't take part. And there's nothing wrong with that. And like I said, that's where people have to understand that's where their line in the sand is drawn. Like, I also told my brothers, which was quite funny to this point though, that nothing is 50-50, and which takes everything to a totally confusing point, because like I said, in a literal argument, it has to seem like there's a 50-50. It's either one thing or the other, because like I said, to my point about like I said, making a stand about something, there, you either are with the people and you don't, you're with the people who condone killing cows or they kill cows. Like, my brother's trying to say, like, okay, so you're gonna stand when they kill this cow or whatever, you're gonna stand out there in the field and be right there with the machete killing the cow, or however they're gonna kill this cow. Like, you're gonna be right there, like, holding the knife or doing this or holding the cow down or however. Like, I was like, nah, like, that's not where my specialties lie. So, like, no, I'm not going to be out there, and I don't have to, stand out there to say that, like, I'm supporting this, because, like I said, I take part in, the killing. Like, I eat the cow. Like I said, I have a leather bag, so on and so forth. So, like I said, like, where your morals lie and the line in the sand is drawn for you. Like I said, I don't know if I actually said the other thing. Like I said, everything isn't 50-50. It's really 40-40, and there's a 20% of gray area. And to that point, like I said, I had to kind of explain that before I said it, because when I say that 20% of gray area is where the people who actually are, like I said, they're with the killing of the cow, so they eat it and all that stuff, but they're not out there physically. Like I said, I made an example yesterday, was that there's plenty of people who work in corporate America and might be racist or white supremacist, but you don't really, like, they might not have ever, like, dressed up in sheets and taken pictures with the KKK or, gone to a Klan meeting or anything like that. But they morally within them support that. And I'm saying, like, yeah, those people, like, wholeheartedly support this, but they've never actually been all the way to that extreme, I guess you can say, like, all the way down to the nitty gritty of the actual, like, standpoint. Like, they're not, like, right there in the trenches with the people. I would call it the gray area within that sense. That's almost like the bandwagoners area. That's for people who, like, I guess when it comes to something super minuscule, like sports or something, and I say minuscule as far as, like, pressing issues in the world go. Like, if sports didn't play, it would be a big thing in America and parts of the other parts of the world. Granted, there would be, like, things going on in the news and stuff like that, but there's going to be way other things. There's still going to be people who are losing their lives over other pressing issues in the world. So, like I said, as far as, like, issues go, like, in the world, like, it would seem like something that is a huge deal if the NBA, NFL, and all sports just never happened again. But at the same time, it's not like a huge thing. Like, people are gonna, like, I'm not even gonna say people wouldn't die over it, because people even die over sports when people win or when people lose. So, but when I apologize. I was making this point about the sports. But yeah, as far as sports go, it's not a huge pressing issue in the world as far as things go. But if sports did not happen, it would have a... No, I was about to make another example out of sports and stuff like that, but I was trying to basically paint the importance or non-importance of sports exactly, and I kind of lost my point for 2 seconds, and I apologize. But yeah, like I said, as far as what things that people value and where their morals and things lie is all on them, and just ultimately we have to do better as people. Very, very, very frustrated with the fact that we like I said, I had this point about the sports and stuff like that I was about to go in, but I'm currently just drawing a blank on it, but it's okay. But I think as we just go on or progress as people, we should just try and do better, or at least help teach the people around us that, like, don't just see something and let it happen. Like, actually, if you just sit there and watch something happen, the next time you see something similar happen, just do a more progressive thing. And by that, it's funny how I've seen a lot of memes and stuff like that, probably in the last few years, saying, "Oh, that's not my business. Oh, that's not my business." In some cases, I guess you could say you could have made it partially your business if it was something extreme going on. And you don't have to take super drastic measures or anything like that, but just do something a little bit better. If you see, like I said, something simple like a mess that was made and not cleaned up, don't make a huge deal about why did somebody leave it there. Just do the better thing and clean it up in the first place. And then just move forward. In a lot of cases, then you'll have the knowledge to, educate other people around you. For instance, if you clean it up and then somebody asks, well, why don't we have any sugar? You're like, oh, well, the other day I did notice that somebody spilt sugar all over the place when I came home or whatever, and I just cleaned it up. So we don't have any sugar. And, that way y'all can at least get sugar, or, at that point you could just tell the people around you, hey, I cleaned up some sugar over there. You don't even have to be one of those people who is announcing what you're doing per se. You can just, like I said, you'll have the knowledge to let other people know, or even if it's just your job to replenish those things, like I said, you can replenish them and then change the way that things are done going forward. And when people ask, why has this changed? Well, you can say, the other day I came home and there was sugar spilt on the counter, so I figured maybe we needed a new sugar dispensing situation, or what have you. Yeah, so like I said, and that's how things can progress a little bit differently. Granted, sometimes those are a huge way to, in which people feel like you're not communicating the situation just by doing something and making a change. But in some situations, like I said, you just have to gauge and know the people around you and how they will interpret what it is that you're doing or saying in a positive manner. So like I said, just know who it is that you're dealing with. I hate to say it like that because that makes it sound like everybody around you is a problem other than you, and no, that is not what I'm saying. Everybody is everybody's issue, but everybody is everybody's solution at the same time. I I remember telling somebody, for example, once that, if it wasn't for this situation that we're talking about, then it wouldn't be the situation that we're talking about for. And that's basically like the bottom line equation of what it is that I was saying. Like, without, it's almost like whenever on Boondocks, whenever they said the absence of evidence. No. Yeah. Doesn't mean that the evidence is absent. Basically, like saying, like, just because you don't know something doesn't mean that it didn't happen, or just because you don't know that something didn't happen doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Or better yet, just because you know something is happening. It's quite confusing, and it's hilarious in the sense of when you start to actually think about it and things like that. But yeah, it's crazy too how you can actually spin that around so many different ways, and its understanding and everything. So yeah, but like I said, people don't place their value in the right things. To point out something else, like I said, to go in a different way of values, like I said, I really would love to kind of spin this and go in a different direction for the rest of the show. But to be honest, I don't exactly know which direction I would go at this point, because when talking about values, as you've seen all this episode, we have literally just talked about how people can't fully understand where their values could or should lie, or even why it is that they value certain things so much, just purely off of communication, and then the miscommunication that we have as just people in general with everyday communication on the bare minimum of things, and how those things can, like, play a huge part in how much somebody values one thing over another. And like I said, and we've talked about how, people have like monetary value, or like not necessarily monetary value, but like basically they'll place higher value on things just due to their own perception of where it is that those things are coming from, or what it is, or their own situation at hand. We've also talked about the way that society can kind of try and put a value on other people's lives, or people's lives in your life, so to speak. And we've also talked about some of how businesses try to show their integrity level, and show you how their values are important, and how they try to do some progressive moving as far as how their company works and stuff like that, just due to the ways that people are feeling about the things that they've been doing for years, and not realizing, actually holding themselves to a higher moral standpoint, or at least trying to, like I said, then they reflect that onto the businesses and stuff. And like I said, and then we'd spoken on values as far as like a moral standpoint, and that's, like I said, where we was getting into the businesses and stuff like that. as far as, like I said, their moral standpoint. Especially we use the example as far as cows and the dairy and beef industry and stuff like that, in the leather industry, as far as they slaughtering cows and stuff like that, and where those morals have lie as far as like having free range cattle that actually have a purpose, and like this is solely just a dairy cow. This is a free range breeding cow, or so on and so forth, and this is how they treat those animals way better before they slaughter them, and like their moral standpoint, or how they treat the chickens and so on and so forth, and where your moral line in the sand is drawn as far as those things go. Like I said, those are other ways that we've talked about values today. Like I said, we was hitting on it on a moral standpoint level, and we also talked about, aside from the business level, talked about how it would appear for everything to have a 50-50 as far as like actually seeing where the line in the sand is drawn. Yes, but there is the fact that everything isn't exactly 50-50. It's more so a 40-40 with a 20% gray area for the people who aren't actually doing the acts, but standing alongside the people who do it by supporting it. Because like I said, there's plenty of people who eat steaks and stuff like that and wear leather, but like I said, they're as far as their moral stand, they don't condone killing. Like, they don't like for you to kill animals. They're not going to allow you to kill a dog. Like, if you had like a chicken as a pet or something like that, they wouldn't really be down for you killing the chicken, or even like watching you slaughter a cow or whatever. But granted, they do understand that is how you get a steak, and they do love their steak. So yes, they do condone killing the animals, and they take part in what it is that they do, but they're not like standing alongside the farmers or whoever it is job it is to slaughter that animal and cut it up for your delight. As much as I hate to just say it like that, but yeah. And we've talked about a lot of things like that, and it's crazy. It was really crazy, just like the level of confusion and the amount of things that we can and can't understand just on a daily basis. Purely like, so imagine after just think about it on a daily basis over a year, like all the information that just probably slips through your fingers just because you're only grasping 75% of what 50% of the people you talk to are talking about, only because you just don't fully understand everybody that you're talking to 100% of the time. And it's nothing against you. It's just, like I said, like everybody has a different level of communication, and I can definitely think of all of my relationships or all of my friendships and family members, like, and the level of communication that me and that person have versus other people, and I can like literally like, I think of a lot of things with as far as numbers, so like I can think of them and like put a percentage on it and be like how much I fully understand what they're saying, and think of like people who I've definitely have a lower percentage of understanding of them. Over time, as I get older, I do grow to understand these people a lot more, and I do understand as I get older and stuff like it, how much more that understanding grows, and it's crazy. But yeah, like it is quite interesting to see and understand as you grow older, the level of understanding that you have for different things and so on. But yeah, it plays a huge part and like I said, where your values can lie and stuff like that. Your understanding of a lot of things just ultimately plays a huge part in where your values can lie and all type of stuff like that. I'm interested to see where tomorrow is going to go, what happens to me over the course of the day, and so on, to see where it takes my mind for tomorrow, because today has been quite an interesting day. My morning was quite, I wouldn't say super exciting. It was, kind of filled with a lot more energy and just like a positive vibe, I can say for sure. And it feels good. Feels very good. I can definitely say that. So tomorrow, I'm eager to see where we go with tomorrow for Tuesday. Today was a very interesting day. We went a lot of places. Like I said, we're ultimately speaking on values. We went to a place of, like I said, communication and understanding, which plays a huge part in how people value different things, and different things going forward, which, like I said, is a huge part. And then we went to, like I said, just different values as far as like morally standing and your actual value, and how people confuse like the priceless value of things and the actual value of things from a dollar standpoint. And then, like I said, came back around to a moral standpoint, and just like I said, like where morals lie and how people try to actually define where their morals lie, or exactly where they lie, or which area and the chart that they stand. Like I said, whether they're to the far right or they're to the far left, that's a huge thing. That's a political term, but it plays a very huge part in what I'm talking about. Ultimately, like I said, that's like how things are kind of measured. We have it seems like it's really either here or there, and a lot of times it is, but it's not, because there's too many people and too many different perceptions for everything to be one or the other. There has to be a third choice, and within that third choice, there has to be a fourth choice. And that's kind of where America is at this point, because if you think about it, in the 90s, growing up, for me, it was always boy or girl, boy or girl, boy or girl. That's the ultimate thing, like, as far as, like, making it black or white. I said that was happening. I know it's very funny to say that, because in the 90s, we were definitely, like, as far as history goes, in the 80s and the 70s, like I said, the 90s, we can definitely say we were at a definitely very more progressive era in which like racism and stuff like that goes. Like, I definitely grew up in a place where there was a lot of white people, but the few black people that were there, like, just because we lived in that area, were looked at a little bit different, but still, looking back on it, a very from a very racist standpoint. But it wasn't till I was at an older age that I realized, like, what it was about being black, or that I was more so different than some of these other kids. A lot of it was me more so realizing I'm great. I'm better. I'm not saying that I was better or I am better as just being a black person, but like, some of it made me feel like I was better. Like I said, like, a lot of the kids would point out, "Oh, well, you're good at that because you're black." Like, well, thanks. I'm sorry you're inferior. I apologize. But I mean, yeah, that's just how they kind of pointed it out to me. And that's when I started to realize it. But yeah, it's crazy how things like that play out. And like I said, in like the 90s, it was definitely a different time and a different era for some people. Some places definitely still lived in that extremely racist area where people were aggressively and maliciously doing things and stuff like that. But to the point, like I said, the 90s, growing up, it was definitely like I said, they tried to paint it a very black or white era. And like I said, a lot of the things that was going on, they pointed at either boy or girl, like I said, and then they kind of, like I said, they, in the sense of the way I kind of portrayed it, they did kind of in a way be like, okay, well, you're either black good or you're white good. And if you're black good, that's like almost like a physical attribute type of thing. Like, oh yeah, you're black, so you're good at sports. You're black, so you're good at sports. And I mean, I like I said right this second, my mind was drawing almost a blank. But like I said, there's other things that they would say that black people are good at, or they're just naturally good at stuff. Like I said, oh well, this is my first time trying this. Oh well, you're black, so y'all are just naturally good at stuff. Oh, okay. Basketball, football, track, anything. And then, as you get older, they start to have the other black stereotypes of like, black people are good at sex and stuff, just y'all know where I'm going with this. I wasn't trying to talk about all that, but exactly, like I said, like they started to paint some things as far as white people were inferior in some ways, which is weird and funny, the fact that I think back on it like that. And that was the way that a lot of us were coming up, or a lot of us think. Like in the area in which I lived in, I can't speak on like a lot of the other people in other areas. Granted, there was a lot of people trying to bring us down, because I think that's why they, like the other. This is what we're going to talk about GP tomorrow. I need people to get on. I need people here tomorrow. We're talking about GP tomorrow. We're talking about Grand Prairie tomorrow. I don't care. I'm getting people. People going to be on my show. I'm going to get everybody I got to be on the show tomorrow. I'm going to try to get Jared. I'm going to try to get Champ. I'm trying to get my sis Doc. I'm definitely probably have my man Frank on here. I'm trying to think of anybody else that I could get on the show tomorrow. We're going to talk about GP. Just in general. Like, we might have stories about GP or whatever, but we're talking about Grand Prairie tomorrow. It's a wrap, because it's just so much to talk about. Like, there was so much stuff that was bad, so much stuff that you think back on it, you could say it was good and all that. But like I said, the point that I was just talking on right now was the fact that, like I said, to some of the students, now that I look back on it, it was almost as if, like I said, everybody else was almost inferior in a way. In some ways, and like I said, certain people were looked at as, primal, or less in. I can't think of the actual reverse word for inferior, but yeah, like I said, and the administration and older people, like I said, around us could see that dynamic and tried their hardest to break it down, or counterbalance or counteract that, like I said, natural instinct for people to flock to certain personalities and certain people by the way that they act, or just the simple fact of somebody being naturally entertaining. because a lot of people find humor and entertainment in other people's pain. And if there's one thing that as black people we have is natural pain within us, just inherently, which is crazy. So like I said, tomorrow we are talking about GP, and I don't care. Like I said, I'm gonna get a ton of people in here. We're gonna have a huge conversation. So anybody who's catching this today, which is Monday, what is it, March the 1st. So for the 2nd, on March the 2nd, try to get in here at 10 a.m. Hopefully I get started right at 10 a.m. That'd be awesome. We are talking about Grand Prairie, and we're going to talk about everything Grand Prairie, like I said, and growing up in Grand Prairie. I like those talks. Those are some of the fun talks to me. But yes, this is the end of the show for today. For now, we're just calling the show Let's Talk About It with Jay for the Dub. It might change over time. I might start breaking down different stuff into different segments and talking about stuff, like I said, and getting a little bit more organized. We tried doing that before, and it started causing me to go crazy. And so I stopped, and that's kind of why we paused the show for a while. But we're going to try and come back full-fledged. So hopefully you guys can stick with me and come back and enjoy the conversations, talks, and the thoughts that we have. I've been doing a lot better. I'm Jay for the Dub.